Quick snap! In this quick snap, we're going to take a look at why you maybe want to play multiple fronts, and more importantly, if you are playing multiple fronts, how those fronts should be complementary of each other. We'll also briefly look at the idea that if you are systematically teaching the techniques and concepts in each of those fronts, you can take those techniques and concepts and repackage them to provide yourself answers to problems that you maybe haven't had to defend before. If you like what you see, please make sure you check out the longer video that this is part of and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming videos. In this video, I want to make sure I took time and explained how fronts can and should complement each other. For us, nose 54 slant is a call which is an odd front with movement, while stud 32 is our call to have a static, even front. Nose 54 slant has 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, whereas stud 32 has 4 guys on the line of scrimmage. Nose 54 slant sets both our run and pass strength to the numbers in the formation, but stud 32 divorces the pass strength, which is set to the field, from the run strength, which we're going to set to the tight end, and then the offset back, and then the numbers, and then the field. Some formations can stress nose 54 slant as the field side force players have to play in more space, while stud 32 can be outnumbered to the boundary. The first example of how nose 54 slant and 32 stud complement each other is a 3x1 pro or tray set, whatever you want to call the formation. By rule, our stud linebacker is going to play a 9 technique anytime he gets a tight end. So we've got 5 guys on the line of scrimmage, which means we have to rotate the secondary and play either sky or man coverage to the field side there. And sky is really, we've got double force players. It solves some of the problems that right now in man, our deep safety, yeah, he can pull his trigger after the tight end blocks the stud, or the stud spills a down block or something like that. But that deep safety has a lot of space to run and go fit and whatnot, while the free in the corner are in man. So sky's a little better for force here, but both of them have the issue on the boundary side of only having 2 for 2, where our will linebacker and our corner in both situations are playing our cruel rules back there, and we've got 2 for 2. Even getting into stud 32 doesn't completely alleviate the problem unless we match up the coverage to play stress to the field, where we've got 4/3 with our corner free, stud and Mac linebacker. Stud can now force it, make sure there's a narrow alley. Mac or Will, depending on the blocking scheme, can be scraping to that alley, and that free, after he gets a run read out of the tight end, he can fit in that alley too. So we're just as strong, maybe even stronger to the field side here, especially keeping leverage and making sure we force the ball back into the alley. And we've also taken care of the issues on the boundary side, where we now have 3 guys with our will, our deep safety, and our corner over the 2 receiving threats or a blocking threat if something like speed option comes to the boundary. The other example is getting some sort of RPO out of a 2x2 set where there's either a flex tight end or a tight end, a pro surface to the field, but twins in the offset back to the boundary. Nose 54 slant, we would be slanting to the boundary here because they've got 3 receivers. We're good against any RPO you can draw up because that Bob linebacker doesn't really have a gap in here. When that guard pulls, the B gap disappears. Our will linebacker is going to be scraping to opposite A because he's got both guard and back away. So he's scraping to the opposite A. That Bob linebacker can hang and doesn't really have to fit until the ball bounces back to him because the B gap has disappeared. We've got our nose blocked by the center and the tackle blocking our 5-tech tackle. The weakness in this front is if the ball gets spilled, our stud linebacker is a 6 technique. We could have him punch the offset H here and play that reach block. That's an adjustment we could make to the front really quickly instead of him slanting to the strength. Still, though, he could easily get reached as a 6 technique, and that puts that free safety in a lot of conflict coming down and playing the force to the field there. Even here, again, we're good to the boundary with the RPO. That Bob linebacker can wall and play underneath the slant, which means the corner, as the play progresses, can drop off and play outside help. That Bob linebacker is going to do a better job of rerouting and playing the seam and making sure he keeps the job of the deep safety a little less stressful. But we still have the same issues with our free providing force here if that stud linebacker gets reached or if he's slanting inside. So a lot of space over there. And the worst part of all that is if we're asking him to run downhill like that and play force to the field, he can be in big time stress if that H puts his foot in the ground and goes vertical. The free has to be very disciplined and match what that H-back is doing. I don't know if a team would actually try this RPO all the way of power read and having a pop pass to the H-back there, but they certainly could adjust the blocking scheme, and if that free safety's been making a bunch of plays, he might lack the eye discipline and might end up giving a really easy throw and catch for a touchdown to the opponent. So stud 32 alleviates many of the issues to the field. Our stud outside linebacker is force. He's playing overhang. He's making sure the ball cuts up in the alley. He's keeping the job of the free safety much easier. The free safety's in less conflict, doesn't need to be downhill as fast in the alley, so he's able to stay on top and inside of a pop pass or a seam to the offset H. The issue happens now on the boundary side. If we stay in our read coverage, it relies somewhat on that will linebacker rerouting and helping carry a seam of 2 to our deep safety. So if our will linebacker follows his normal reads of guard away, flow away, scrape to the opposite A, he's going to be gone, and this window to the slant and the curl is going to be wide open. I think our deep safety will be able to still stay on top and inside of the vertical of 2, but our corner with the seam read out of his key of the number 2 going vertical, he works to play the outside deep quarter there and protect the post corner if number 2 runs that. So that slant's going to end up wide open. And we could ask our will to change his read the tackle maybe, and bounce and whatnot, but that's going to slow him down, and that's not something I want to do. So the next answer would be go man coverage, and again, we're going to be really good to the field, and I think we're better to the boundary because we're going to be inside leverage. If they would go with that seam, the deep safety is going to be able to match and disrupt it and carry that seam, and the corners are going to be inside the slant and have leverage on that, so the quarterback's not going to have an easy open throw. But if he can make that throw to the boundary, which is not as far, he's going to be able to complete passes on that out. And I'm okay with giving that up to the flats, but we're still giving the offense something. And as a defensive coordinator, I'm trying to eliminate that. So the last thing I want to cover is if you play multiple fronts, you can take bits and pieces of those fronts and put those together if an opponent presents a problem that you have not seen yet. To be honest, we don't see any real RPO that I'm aware of. So if we did and we had a week to game plan, we already run nose 54. We already squeeze out of this front and end up in 3-0-3 off of movement with our end and our tackle. This is what most coaches would call a tight front just off movement. the Mac and Will would not change their reads. They're still going to be able to play fast downhill, guard away, flow away. That Will is going to fit to the opposite A. It's closed by the nose. He can start scraping and playing underneath the block of the tackle and getting to the play side. Our Mac linebacker is going to be in better position to play the spill by the 5 technique that's squeezing. Our stud outside linebacker is going to be able to force and funnel a seam to the free safety. Our free safety can play a little slower because he's an LA fitter and fitting inside of the H, which means he's also going to keep leverage if the H puts his foot in the ground and tries to run that pop pass. Over on the boundary side, if we get 2 out, a alert call and read from our corner, the corner is going to be able to keep on top of that and outside leverage and cancel that. Our Bob linebacker is used to playing an overhang. He doesn't really have a gap until the C gap because that 4 technique is inside and in the B gap, which becomes the A gap, I guess, as the guard pulls away. So that Bob linebacker can hang there. He can help reroute a seam, keep the job of that deep safety, protecting the open middle of the field and denying that post crossing his face, make that deep safety's job a little bit easier. If we do get a seam call, the corner can melt with that seam call and play the outside corridor and protect against the post corner route out of number 2 as the Bob linebacker matches that slant underneath. And just being in that position a lot of times will prevent the quarterback from even making the throw on that slant. And then if the quarterback would happen to put his foot in the ground, see that everything is bottled up to the play side because we're squeezing and spilling and fitting, and he bounces back to the backside C gap, that run takes a while. The Bob linebacker could pull his trigger, and I'm pretty confident that we'd be able to make that tackle on a drastic cut by the quarterback with that Bob linebacker with good leverage. So hope all of this helps you understand how playing multiple fronts is possible and how it gives you some extra answers if you need them, because guys are used to playing a variety of techniques, and you're able to put those techniques together as you need to be able to really attack an offense and take away things that you're trying to do. Thanks for checking out this quick snap on Coaching Football with Brian Klee. Please follow me on Twitter at Coach Klee. Subscribe to the channel Coaching Football with Brian Klee by clicking down below. And if you have any further follow-up questions, email me at coachbrianklee@gmail.com.